In 2006, the Canadian-French horror Silent Hill by Christopher Gans, who also directed the third part, see also Crying Freeman, Brotherhood of the Wolf and Beauty and the Beast, is based on the same named video game series by the Japanese company Konami from 1999, which I only know from videos. I'm not into video games in general. One of the inspirations for the design was Adrian Lyne's modern psychological horror classic Jacob's Ladder from 1990. See also the Carnival of Souls retrospective. Since their adopted daughter Sharon is constantly sleepwalking and has nightmares about Silent Hill, Rose da Silva, against her husband Christopher's wishes, takes her on a trip to the location, which was abandoned in the 1970s due to a devastating coal seam fire which still smolders underground. There, in the middle of the night, also thanks to the annoying cop Sybil, they are separated after an accident. While searching for Sharon, the cop is also there and helps along the way. Rose follows a girl who resembles her. As it later turns out, this is Alessa, Sharon's dark side, whose mother is also lurking there. And time and again, the city suddenly transforms into a nightmarish world populated by inhuman monsters that, for reasons they can't leave. The visually stunning movie, with its occasionally eerie atmosphere, whose unusual Jeff Dahner Akira Yamaoka soundtrack, who also created the sound for the games, seems to rely almost exclusively on variations of tracks from the Silent Hill series, made on a budget of $50 million, just $100 million worldwide back, so for sure wasn't a hit, and was generally received negatively by critics. At the time, I found the over 2-hour flick illogical and confusing. It's about a cult that, for whatever reason, did something horrific to a girl, Alessa, which also resulted in the fire. And Alessa's creation of the, similar to her now, evil parallel world, and her unaware of all this, practically innocent, positive half, Sharon, whom they hid as a baby in the real world, or something like that. The movie, supposedly based on the plot of the first game, didn't get a free pass even from gamers, who understood the countless references, but couldn't make sense of many of the seemingly forced changes. Like with the names, Sharon's game name is Cheryl. Characters in the game, it's a widowed father, Harry Mason, searching for his daughter, and the story itself. There are no witch burnings by the cult in the source material, and no character Christabella as leader, no spouse constantly interrupting the plot unnecessarily without consequences. The city isn't an evacuated ghost town either. Pyramid Head is from the second game and actually has nothing to do with this story, and it shows. His appearances here make absolutely no sense, and he seemingly at random attacks sometimes the heroes, sometimes the villains, etc. In the final, Rose rescues her daughter, and Sharon and Alessa merge. When they return home, they discover that they are still in the foggy Silent Hill dimension. Meanwhile, Christopher awakens alone in the real world and discovers that the front door has mysteriously opened. In Silent Hill Revelation from 2012, Rose is able to contact her husband through a mirror and manages to send him her daughter with a magical amulet. However, she stays behind to distract the cult, which wants to capture Sharon. So the same cult that got extinct by Alessa in the last movie? Meanwhile, Sharon suffers from convenient amnesia and believes her mother died in a car accident. To hide from the cult, the two move frequently over the next few years, constantly changing their identities, currently as Heather and Harry Mason. She suffers from recurring nightmares about Silent Hill and evil Alessa. After Harry suddenly disappears, she flees there with the amulet and her new ally, Vincent, who later reveals himself to be the son of the new cult leader Claudia, Christabella's sister, learns about her true identity and eventually confronts Alessa. Silent Hill 2 3D Boogaloo by MJ Bassett, also responsible for the so-called screenplay, supposedly based on the third game in the series. See also her 2025 Red Sonja Cucumber with similar qualities in the Conan retrospective, made on a this time only $20 million budget and annoying 3D scenes over $55 million worldwide back. So at least it didn't lose money, but was this time even worse, panned by critics and audiences. Although only about 90 minutes, it feels, since such unwatchable garbage, significantly longer than the first one, which it doesn't even come close to aesthetically or narratively. Everything here seems clumsy and unimaginatively thrown together. In the end, Heather manages to overcome/absorb Alessa, which actually already happened in the first part, but who cares, and defeats Claudia with the help of Pyramid Head, now apparently on the side of the good guys, who comes running to the rescue for the second time now, since the cult was destroyed and Alessa's justice was served. So exactly the result of part 1, the fall of the ashes to Silent Hill, ends, because that's just how it is. While Harry decides to stay to find Rose, Heather and Vincent return to the real world. In Return to Silent Hill from 2026, based on the second game in the series, James does exactly that, after a mysterious letter leads him there in search of his lost love. However, he discovers that the town has been changed by an unknown evil force, and the deeper he goes, the more often he encounters terrifying figures that are both familiar and alien to him. Ruining Silent Hill Again was actually filmed back in February 2024, but spent, according to Christopher Gans, due to executive producers, a year in post, to finally end another year later of all months with a January release. Also known and infamous as Dump Month for projects that lack confidence. The predecessors were released in April and October. The $23 million production was neither well received by critics nor audiences, grossing in the US in its first week just $4 million, and is considered a flop. In the utterly incoherent and incredibly boring tale with horribly fake-looking effects, which jumps wildly between flashbacks, dreams and reality, but you have often no clue which is which, therefore losing soon interest in the story, James realizes that the creatures reflect his own guilt. Back then, on his first return, which he seems to have forgotten or something, he found his girlfriend Mary, which he left since she didn't want to leave her religious woke female cult, dying from illness caused by their drugs, and at her wish suffocated her, which completely misses the point made by the original game story. Among others, there the tortured creatures represent stages of Mary's illness, which he didn't experience in the changed movie story since they broke up and he left. In the game there is also no stupid cult to blame, so he doesn't leave her, and she's not begging him to end her pain. Exactly opposite is the case. She wants to live. And there is no annoying shrink constantly interrupting the story with pointless phone calls. So similar, unnecessarily fudged in elements, just like in part 1 20 years ago. And all the female characters that he encounters, individuals in the game with their own story, turn out in the movie just to be his girlfriend. In the original, there's only the protracted illness of his wife Mary, with whom he had lived a happy life until then. What seemingly drove him to the murder, as he couldn't take her suffering anymore, it's left a bit unclear. In the final, he drives off a pier with her corpse, apparently committing suicide, but awakens at the moment of their first encounter. And this time he decides not to bring her back to Silent Hill, the trigger of the events, but to drive away with her.